All right, good morning. Thank you, Teresa, for the intro, and thank you for Carr for having me here at Pleb Lab. Today I'm going to be doing a product announcement for BTC Retail X, which is it's a much more than a point of sale. It's a retail management system that functions for sales, inventory control, employee permissions, time cards, a wide variety of things on the back of the house that a store owner would need to run their business. And as Teresa had mentioned, my background is point of sale. I've been selling cash register systems for 20 years and through corporate, so for Intuit, for Microsoft, the big companies that are out there. And for years I wanted to build my own system that didn't have that 800-pound gorilla mentality that you're going to take what we give you and be happy about it. Microsoft was famous for that, and so was Intuit for that matter. And although I did well with selling their software, I was never quite happy with that ecosystem that they provided. And so I knew at some point that I wanted to build my own system, but it wasn't until President Bukele had announced Bitcoin legalization for El Salvador that I was like going, I think I can probably do this. And so that was my impetus to start this about a year and a half ago. And so what you see here, what we're going to explore is the system of a point of sale, as well as some of the back-end retail management, and then what I did for Bitcoin to integrate that functionality into it. So nodes, payments, on-chain, off-chain, and a bunch of third-party integrations from other companies to make it a inclusive point of sale that you could put any kind of payment rail into it, and then how that fits in the retail space. So I've been in El Salvador 3 times for the past 9 months, and originally wanted to build this to help their economy to accept Bitcoin from the grassroots level. So through organizations like Hope House at Bitcoin Beach and Me Premier Bitcoin, basically had built the system to give it away to them. So for the pupusa seller to little mom and pop micro shops that are down there, and to give them a product. It is in Spanish, by the way, to use to utilize Bitcoin down there, so it kind of grew from that into. I also needed to be sustainable as a business for my own needs to grow a company out of it, and so I made it a traditional point of sale here for U.S. As well as Europe, and also to provide a platform basically for emerging markets, so Central America, South America, Africa, and the various Bitcoin circular economies that are popping up around the world, Akasi, Bitcoin Lake, and so on. And so basically, just a little bit briefly about me. I was a diamond reseller for Intuit, so that's the maker of QuickBooks and TurboTax, and so I did that for 16 years. And all of a sudden, about a couple months ago, they actually are shutting down their point of sale division, which is going to end up creating a big vacuum for Intuit being basically the small business accounting go-to company. Shutting down their point of sale business is going to leave a big hole, and so I'm hoping to fill that hole with some of what I'm providing. And but I've been in Bitcoin since 2017. And I've been in tech all my life. So I started out hacking over a modem when I was 12, and quickly started building computers, and then moved on into real-world life skills of selling and SQL and all the different skills that I built over the years to get me to this point with a point-of-sale system. So, what is a retail management system? Let me back up and say, what is a point-of-sale system? Some people will say that a point-of-sale is just a way to take money at a register. You have a cash register system, you ring up $20, somebody pays you, you ring it up as a credit card, you take cash. And that's all well and good. But traditionally in corporate world, point of sale is much broader. It's actually what I would term retail management system. And that does inventory control, which is a big part of business. It does in-depth reporting, which is a gold mine to businesses. So the more data they get out of their system, the more value they get out of their system. Managing sales, managing invoices. The system that I've created also does delivery, quick serve table management, so cafes, they know where all the food goes to table 12. But I also built it to be hardware agnostic, so it's software, and I can basically put it on any hardware device. So I can do an Android app, I can do an iOS app, I can put this on a Linux server that's self-hosted, I can throw it on a PC as a web browser, and you can put it on your cell phone, which is primarily everybody in El Salvador has a smartphone. And so I built the Android app of this full-featured software to work on an app on their phone, and basically, instead of paying $200 for a device like this, which is a lot of money down there, they already have their cell phone so they can run their taco business, pupusas, and as a micro vendor. And that was the big goal here, because in the US, stores can afford a $5,000 install. Can't do that in El Salvador. They pretty much are not going to be even paying $10 a month for software. It's that different of a valuation for their dollar down there. It's kind of eye-opening too. You go down there and you see the cost of living differences, and so I tried to build something that was cost-effective for them as well as for the U.S. market. And one of the other things is that I tried to focus on was transitioning for the Bitcoin adoption was to also make it functional here in the States by integrating credit cards. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit as far as how integrated credit cards are within store management and how much money is involved in that. One of the things I've taken away from that is understanding that we have a big uphill battle taking market share away from the credit card banking industry based on just commissions that I've earned over the years with the banking industry for credit cards. So it's kind of, it's a mixed bag to integrate credit cards, but the reality is we have to do that in order to, facilitate the transition into a Bitcoin standard. So, all right. So what I ended up doing originally is I had built this, I'm pretty self-sovereign, do a lot of privacy advocacy, and built the point of sale originally hosted off of Start9 Embassy. And basically have used all the functionality on the back end, Bitcoin Core, LND, and a couple other apps that I had created and put out there, especially LNBits. It originally wasn't part of the Start9 infrastructure. And so I had cobbled together my own version to put it out there to make the point of sale be able to use Bitcoin on-chain and Lightning off-chain. And then it just grew. Started integrating all these other third-party apps. IBEX is a big part of that right now, mainly because of their liquidity that they provide for both IBEX Pay, IBEX Hub, and if you're unfamiliar with IBEX, they basically provide Lightning liquidity for the most part. They do some on-chain as well to businesses, and they're focusing on Central America with a big push into Mexico right now. And so one of the things trying to make this more of a production system is using third-party systems that provide liquidity that is fast, reliable, has the liquidity that's needed. What I've quickly learned using Start9 and LNBits is that they're based off a Tor Onion background, and so it's a little slower. I noticed 2 years ago when I had shown this in Miami that transactions were instant. I had a credit card machine, I had LNBits, and LNBits was completing a transaction faster than credit cards. 2 years later, different story. It's kind of weird. I think it must be a Tor thing, but it's been a little slower. So ended up integrating other third-party liquidity providers, IBEX, BitPay, OpenNode, to make it a faster experience for commercial need. And but ended up plugging in all this other stuff. So Azteco, you can sell non-KYC Bitcoin out of it. Even with IBEX Hub, I can do the same thing. integrated, whatever back end that you would like. So if you want to be self-sovereign or if you want to host a node on Voltage, you can do that, use BTC Pay Server, and away you go. Keeping in mind Bitcoin and its adoption, I put in all these tools as well as traditional credit cards. So just to give options to the store owner. Yes? So the question is how am I talking to each one of the providers, basically? And basically, it's an API key. So there's an encryption, there's a secret key, there's the public part of it, and we just plug that in, and it talks behind the scenes for each integration. For the most part, majority is like that. Some of them are a little more... Yep, pretty much. So one of the things that I wanted to focus on for Bitcoin adoption was also to show how Bitcoin relates to the dollar or the local currency. So this is just a quick screen, a view of the sales screen, and we ended up putting in sats that get updated every 15 seconds to the local currency. So if you have a $20 Bitcoin product, you can see that's 81,020 sats. 15 seconds, it'll refresh, might end up being 81,300. And so you can see the difference between local and the sats price that's built in. And then tried to make the sats connection flow throughout the software. So you see it on the sales screen, you see it on the receipts, and it flows into the reports as well. And the other, obviously, the thing that we've done with the point of sale is you take payments in Bitcoin and Lightning as well. So your QR codes will pop up, and you can scan them at the point of sale. Just a different view. I expanded it a little bit more, but just to show that the sats are there, but also the payment methods on the side. One of the rules of retail is you don't want the money to leave the building. So if somebody is giving you a payment option that you don't accept, you've just lost that sale. And one of the interesting things is that I've implemented about 14 different payment rails on the back end, and it's expanding almost weekly. So PayPal, is integrated into it. I can't remember if it's Cash App or Venmo. One of the two is integrated on the back end, as well as like 10 different Bitcoin back ends. This is just an example of the sales. One of the pieces of hardware that we have. This is a register that I've got out back that I'll be demoing the software on a standard cash register. We designed the system to be intuitive, so everything, this has been beta at my existing clients for the last year, and so we've been getting amazing feedback on trying to make it a faster system as well as intuitive. So, cash out buttons are right up front, customer buttons, so you can see history right up front. Any kind of interaction is built in. The system does discounts, tax in a variety of different formats, including VAT, value-added tax for Canada, El Salvador, and so on. Gratuity, so we do, it's built for quick-serve restaurants, so cafes, coffee shops, what have you, and you can do gratuity and also delivery. So if you are a pizza restaurant, you can easily integrate this. But it's also for light commercial delivery. So I've got a couple of customers that do landscape supply that are using this that will, there's a tracking list of open invoices and open shipping that integrates with a Google Calendar that they can assign a job to a driver. And so you can have 5 different drivers, you can have 5 different invoices, and it's easily administrated from a central screen, all built into this point of sale system. So there's a lot of functionality that we can do with it and how we can expand it into different industries, not just retail. So we designed it to be hardware agnostic. So this is basically a web server on the back end that I ended up wrapping as an Android app, wrapping as an iOS app, and then building it to run. The system on the bottom left is a Linux box, PC on the right. This is an Android tablet in the top left, and then an Android handheld, which is this device, with a receipt printer built in. But it also does the standard cell phone too, which is Android. Mine is, at least. The goal here is to be able to put on any kind of platform. So one of the things that I pulled out of this is to see, QuickBooks is only run on a PC. Microsoft's product, only on a PC. There's stuff that's, NCR has. It doesn't have the availability that I've put into my system to go anywhere. So it's one of the cool things I think about this system. The market for the point of sale, it's a lot broader than this, but this will touch on some of the customers that I have currently using this box. Coffee shops, a furniture wholesaler, standard gift stores, so tourism industry, it works really well. I have a lighting wholesaler that uses it. I have 3 museums that are using it right now for their gift stores and for ticket sales. And then I've got several landscape supply stores. Apparently landscape supply in my town is pretty popular, and I've got 3 of them. So. All right, revenue potential. So this is an interesting subject, and I want to make sure that I point out the credit card commissions that are out there and why the banks are protecting their investment. Card processing, which is the second line, this line here. Average revenue for my commission selling a standard point of sale is $300 a month. And that's probably a company that makes $3.5 million in sales a year. I have several customers that are $7 million that I'm banking $1,000 a month in commission, and that's with a revenue share that I share with another company. So the money that is out there in credit card processing is vast. And this is something that inherently as a Bitcoiner, I'm trying to take a piece of, because I'm trying to lower fees to get out of the credit cards. But you can see, if you have 10,000 stores and you've got them banked with you as a credit card retailer, $36 million in commissions a year. So crazy amount of money in credit card residuals. And that's my commission. That's not the bank. They're making that much more money. Crazy thoughts. So I wanted to bring up the revenue potential to show there's several different ways that this system can generate income. One is annual monthly subscriptions. Right now I'm averaging around $70 a month. Most people will pay for it on an annual basis and they get a 10% discount. Credit card transaction residuals average around $300 a month. Service support as a full service install runs around $4,000 per register. So this is showing the income potential of what's capable of a point of sale system at a normal store. Private label licensing is also a possibility. So I white label the product, I'm marketing, I'm building a partnership with a couple of customers who are going to we're going to white label the product under their label and put it out the door. One of the other parts that I've not dealt with yet as far as trying to come up with a dollar range is the remittance market. So the original reason I got into this was that I ran into, I had heard Carlino Torriello with IBEX at a Bitcoin Day conference, and he was basically saying the problem here in the States is getting money back to El Salvador. And getting money from a laborer, a day laborer, or field laborer, or somebody who is in the States needing to send money instantly to El Salvador it's a huge market. It's an untapped huge market. And so I was like, okay. He basically said, if you can find a solution for this, you're going to do well. And so I was like, well, okay, I can do that because I already have the point of sale. Let me do this easily by getting this device using IBEX Hub on the back end, exchanging cash for Bitcoin that's either in Lightning or on-chain, giving them a receipt, giving them a QR code, however you want it, and sending it instantly, to El Salvador. And so the reason I don't have this fleshed out is that this is basically a new concept, but you can see that a 2 to 5% commission range is possible for a store owner to be able to take for doing that exchange business. So, we're talking millions of dollars that is being sent to El Salvador, and we're trying to reach into the Hispanic market to get this device at existing stores, taquerias, grocery stores, Hispanic business associations, just to show what's possible. And we're not talking just El Salvador. We're talking Mexico. We're talking Honduras. We're talking other places that, the diaspora of these countries sends money across the border. So the possibility is pretty good. Building a reseller program. And so if somebody wants to resell the platform, whether it is a multi-line seller or if they want to do it full time, basically doing 25% monthly subscription as well as 50% of the credit card residuals as a share. And you build that up. So if you end up having a client list of, say, 100 clients, it adds up quickly, builds a paycheck for a sales rep. And so the possibility for that will help support both the business for growth as well as the employee or the consultant who's trying to generate a paycheck. In the future, probably going to end up rebranding. I know BTC Retail X is a mouthful, but we want to come up with something that's catchy, a little more modern. Doing a little bit of UI UX redesign. It's a little OG, it's all PHP on the front end, and we're going to be doing some dynamic refreshes, as well as integrating with QuickBooks Online and doing some programming behind the scenes to make it deal with Bitcoin and its volatile price as well. Another integration that we have that currently is working in beta is a WooCommerce shopping cart. So the point of sale tracks inventory, shares its data with WooCommerce, so somebody can do a web store as well. And so their inventory should be up to date as it talks back and forth. The rage right now is NFC bullet cards, and I do have them. It's under beta right now. And then all of our devices have NFC readers on them. And so this device, the register that's in back, as well as a little standalone NFC pad that we have that we're integrating with the system. Talking with Oshi right now as hopefully to cross-market the point of sale with their gift card systems. My goal there is that Oshi does an amazing job with getting gift cards out there. And if you want to spend Bitcoin on those gift cards, we want to be able to validate those gift cards at the point of sale. And then also share the marketing map that they are building to show where Bitcoin is accepted, both with our customers and Oshi. And that dives into the cross-marketing part of this, that, I'm open to partnerships so we can expand the Bitcoin, standard out there to show people what Bitcoin's about and how, it's valuable. And a little bit, just briefly to wrap up, right now my company is BTC Retail X. I've got 2 full-time devs and 1 part-time dev, and we're looking to grow for the future. So that's going to be researching, how to scale coming up. And then if you want to reach out to me, there's my contact info, and that wraps it up. Any questions on that? Well, it depends on who I talk to. I have not talked to any attorneys yet to clarify this, but I know one of the main issues that we're dealing with within the states is that each state has its own money transmitting law, and and this is hearsay. So I hear that we can send up to $1,000 with no issue, but I do know that a lot of people are keeping it down to that $600 level. So the money transmitting portion of it is basically, like Azteco, it's a voucher. It's a piece of paper, basically, and you're exchanging it. And so it's an arm's reach transaction. between three parties. And so I think, I'm not going to say that's how they get around it, but that is the infrastructure that's in place. So I think that's a gray area, and who knows where regulation is going to go with that. I think it's going to end up being a state-by-state basis, kind of like Texas and Prime Trust right now. So, yeah. Anyone else?
Outside of the retail businesses themselves, which kind of partnerships are you looking to make?
Basically, I'm open. If there's, one of the reasons I'm rebranding is that, I've designed all this stuff, and I'm not a graphical artist, all right, by any stretch of the imagination. So that also means I'm not entirely creative either. And so I would like to expand out to anybody who has something prettier than what I offer. And those come with those ideas as well, because we don't know what we don't know. And so I've been doing this for 15 years, 16 years, and so I don't know if I would say I'm jaded to what the current point of sale market is, but I think the opportunities out there for hitting micro businesses on an Android app store or the Apple store are vast. I think so if we can hit one of the things, I think, we talked about Nostr earlier, and I think there's a role there where we can do basically, instead of SMS messaging, we can use Nostr to send messages back and forth. So the system will send out text messages right now. That's expensive. I don't know if you know how expensive SMS messaging is, since we all get it pretty much on our cell phone plans, but standalone SMS adds up quickly. And so being able to leverage Nostr, totally think that would be something to do here. Send receipts by it or whatever. But I'm totally open to other partnerships. Yes, sir. The BitBook. Yeah. All right. Give me a little feedback here.
The website getbitbook.com is available for free for $8.
There you go. I love it. I will definitely. I'm definitely looking for feedback on I've messed around with Honey Badger point of sale. I've messed around with, trying to play with the Bitcoin concepts, but also the reality is that I want it also reachable to the other 99% of the market that doesn't deal with Bitcoin. And with the hopes of, I'm going to orange pill these customers as we go. So I'm not forcing Bitcoin on customers, on these store owners. I'm basically showing, hey, it's available if you want it. And this is how you can do it, and why it's cost effective to do it. Because if you can, even if you're using IBEX, which charges 3/4 of a point for Bitcoin transition to fiat, they sweep it into your bank account or hold it as Bitcoin. You're saving 2.5% on average compared to credit cards. So it's a no-brainer to me. But it ends up coming right now, we have to educate still. So we have to teach people, we have to teach the store owners why it's worth it. So.
So you mentioned IBEX doing the currency conversion.
Mm-hmm.
As the retail management system, you don't get involved in any of that currency conversion. You kind of push that off to whatever.
Yeah. Originally, I did not want to be the custodian of funds at all. I'm still pretty averse to it, although that's changing a little bit depending on some of the third-party providers that we're talking to now. Basically, I've let them be the ones in charge of the funds, and even with IBEX Hub is a little risky because I end up being basically the bank if I choose to of the stores that are plugged into their system. So sort of like what Galloway Money does with Bitcoin Beach Wallet and El Zante, they have a central bank basically that's I think it's a huge risk. I mean, we see fraud all the time, and so I really don't want to be a part of that. Open my own self and my own developers up to that risk. So.
I have a question, Doug. So, let's just want to get some clarity around this. So theoretically, we could take that device that you have in your hand. Can you show it real quick?
Mm-hmm.
We can take that device. I can walk down to, say, Kebabalicious that's doing, selling kebabs at that store. Give them that device, get signed up, and then we can start paying in Bitcoin.
Yep, definitely.
There's nothing else that they need other than just that thing set up. And then they can still have their POS terminal that they have. They can just
Yeah. Where you run into problems is that, most store owners want their data in one place. And so, we can do an API integration with a lot of the point of sale systems that are out there. So if we need to send sales data so they have it in one place, we can do that if it's not a lockdown system. But totally. I mean, the goal here was that we get these in like Hispanic grocery stores where they're doing remittances. They can have this to the side. But the reality is a lot of these places have just simple cash registers. And so putting in an inexpensive box like the one that's out back for the demo, I'm playing around with giving it away for free for the transaction costs, because I'm making commissions on the back end. So a lot of different options for that.
Do they even need that box? Can they just use their cell phone?
That is true, yes.
Like it's just a cell phone.
Exactly. That's all that it is. You got it. And I was playing around with a little Bluetooth printer that was attached to my phone. So yes, you're correct. Yes.
So, if there's small businesses that just have registered, do they really have a use case for having this machine integrating it into point of sale system, which would
Well, if they're using a simple cash register, that generates tickets at the end of the day that'll summarize what they've sold. But it depends on if they want more flexibility to look at that data. The cool thing about this is cloud-based, so you don't have a receipt paper coming out of the cash register that maybe the store owner isn't there every day and either has to leave the cashier has to leave the roll of papers for the store owner to review later. The whole goal here is that you could have a store running with your employees, but you could be in France or South America or whatever reviewing your stuff on the back end. So this gives flexibility. A cash register system, it really comes down to cost, and I think we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible. To make it a system that has value for somebody who's, if you're a U.S. store owner, there's a ton of value in this that I've seen that has been lacking in a lot of the systems that are out there, and that having cloud access for your administrator to be able to run reports, do inventory control, add new items, do the inventory counts remotely, it's powerful stuff. So it just comes down to, there's trade-offs in everything. And, a cash register that's just a simple thing that costs $200, you can put my app on your phone for free and find value out of that. Yeah.
So you mentioned that QuickBooks is getting rid of their payment processing?
No, they're getting rid of their point-of-sale division.
Division.
Got a big letter from them about 2 weeks ago. It says, we are end-of-lifing point of sale, no more sales, no more support. Any integration with credit cards, store exchange data, any third-party access to QuickBooks point of sale, not QuickBooks accounting, point of sale only, end-of-lifing October 3rd.
Do you have plans for integration with QuickBooks with your backend?
Yeah, working on it right now. So we have, I've been doing this for a long time, so I've built a bunch of relationships. And one of the things that I'm doing is reaching out to my existing QuickBooks customer base and getting their credit card accounts moved over. So there are companies that will integrate with point of sale for processing only. It's a plugin, software plugin. So I personally am doing that, but I'm also in front. Like I said, I've been a diamond reseller for Intuit for a long time. And there's 3 major reseller groups in Intuit that are basically all in the same boat. And they're having to scramble over the next 6 months to reposition. Either get credit cards to these people or get them on new point of sale systems. It's crazy.
Did you hear anything on the grapevine as to why they're doing that?
It's
Like the best rate for a while.
they were always a quarter point more for point of sale. All right. So, and I digress on this a little bit, so we'll move on. But it comes down to shareholder value. They've been spending a lot of money, and they're feeling the pinch of competition. Yeah.
I have another question. So you've throughout your years? How do you view it now as opposed to back then?
From my mentality, it's basically, take payments wherever you can. So don't let somebody walk out the door with a $50 purchase just because you don't take Bitcoin. If somebody comes in and they're a Bitcoiner and they want to, my core belief is that a Bitcoin wants to be loyal to a Bitcoin company. And they're the ones out there that'll say, oh no, never spend your Bitcoin. I'm of the belief, spend your Bitcoin, just repurchase it and move on, because you're supporting the Bitcoin network, the ecosystem out here, that all of these people that are coming out here doing product announcements or integrations, we're relying on you to spend your Bitcoin. And you can mitigate the capital gains discussion by using Strike or whatever conversion app out there. So it still comes down to education, both with Bitcoiners and with traditional non-Bitcoin fiat world. Yes.
So with the printer, how you can bring up the QR code.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you're being the on-ramp. Like if I were to come into you and be like, hey,
Yep.
I don't have any Bitcoin, you would just generate Bitcoin like that.
Yeah. Correct.
Buy the Bitcoin with dollars, and then I would spend my Bitcoin at your business.
Mm-hmm.
From there,
You definitely can do that.
if you're sending money, then or the Bitcoin overseas or over borders, then that would cut out remittances for a store owner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have options on remittance market as well as, the goal here as a retail owner is keep the money in the store. That's why the marketing is there, sex sells. So same thing, money. And the example of the credit card processing revenue just on my commissions alone tells you that the banking world does not want to see this work. So let's fight tooth and nail against it. Yeah.
So we have Lightning, cheaper payment trail,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of Bitcoiners would argue it's just faster, better, cheaper, and all that stuff. But
Yep.
have you seen any any new use cases that it kind of opens up the door to for retail?
Only with, I've been doing this and trying to get my own customer base onboarded with Bitcoin. It's a struggle, and it's mainly because of education. I'm selling a system, but I'm also trying to orange pill somebody, which is an in-depth process. I went the Bitcoin circle of life. I heard about Bitcoin in the bull run of 17, quickly went to shitcoins and got wrecked, and then started learning about Bitcoin. One example I have is I'm a CFO, traveling CFO for one of these landscape supply companies, and I've been trying to get him orange pilled for years. He still won't do it. I'm like, this is going to cost you absolutely zero. I said, I'll back you. I will, get this up and going. He's like, listens to the FUD. So it's an education process, and that's why Bitcoin is technically optional in this system. It's just a checkbox. We go in the back end, mark it as a checkbox. The goal here is that I plan on orange pilling each one of my existing client base that I've had for over a decade, and basically saying, hey, Bitcoin is available. You guys can accept it. We can put you on Oshi, and you can accept the gift cards. We can have free marketing, which is basically what Oshi does, with their Bitcoin map. And it's a win-win. You save on credit card fees. You take Lightning. You can transmit it to fiat if you choose to. Or the reality is that probably less than 1% of a store's income is going to be Bitcoin. The reality. And, so I actually have a couple of customers, and I basically say, if somebody comes in with Bitcoin, just bank it. Maybe in 10 years, that'll be generational wealth for you, or it might end up being 20% of your asset value, just for what you take with 1%. And so working with, Texas Slim is here, and he's doing the beef initiative and farm to table kind of mentality. I'm doing basically the same thing, trying to orange pill chicken farmers, for eggs, and a couple beef sellers in South Carolina with basically the same concept. One of them is going to be using my system here in the spring, and we're reaching out to farmers markets in town as well to be able to do that.
So you mentioned that Oshi kind of does marketing for you because of the map.
Well, that's a pending relationship. So Michael and I we're talking actively.
Okay. So the mapping is like he has a list of companies that accept Bitcoin, right?
Mhm.
And then it's kind of like with Ocean. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you will be, once the partnership's formed, you'll be one of the, people or one of the companies.
To validate, yes. So basically, Oshi takes, they'll take payments in Bitcoin, give you a gift card for a vendor. And one of the other things that they do is they'll buy gift cards from a store and say, hey, my Bitcoiners are buying these gift cards that I just bought from you. It seems like a win-win. And so my argument in this is that, well, our point of sale system can validate his gift cards, and then we can share the marketing for what we're doing. That's an active process, so it'll come to completion at some point in the near future. Yes, sir.
If you're trying to onboard chicken farmers, you should call it the chicken box.
Thank you, Super. The chicken box, I like it. Exactly.
It's also an easy mascot as well.
Yes, that is true. That is true. All right. Wrapping up? All right, thank you.